Hi, my name's Billy, I read books, and I'm on Goodreads where I list and sort and catalogue all the books I've read and want to read. Maybe you are too. If you are, seek me out, give me a follow. So what I'm going to do here as a follow-up to my previous video, which I will link below, where I ranked my top 10 average rated books on my TBR. This is going to be my top 10 rated books on Goodreads, but with a different set of criteria. So yes, it is the highest rating, but it's between a certain number of reviews. So this is going to be where they've got to have more than 1,000 reviews, but less than 10,000. So this factors out all the big hitters, all the big boys. So there's no Brandon Sandersons, there's no Joe Abercrombies, there's no Pierce Browns, there's none of those guys. This gets you down into the weeds. I mean, that's going to be a bit harsh to some of these authors I'm talking about, and I don't mean that in a bad way. But we get down into the weeds, the ones that you might just skip over, the ones that you add onto your Goodreads TBR list on a whim because you've watched a Booktube video and then forget all about. And this is where some of these come in, and to be honest, I have forgot about a lot of these. Let's get into them, starting at number 10. At number 10 is a book I've not actually forgotten about. It's Dragon Mage by M.L. Spencer. It's got an average rating of 4.34 from 4,500 ratings. This was doing the rounds on Booktube a couple of years ago. This might have been an entry in the SPFBO competition. That's probably where I kept on hearing this mentioned. I think that stands for Self-Published Fantasy Blog Off competition. And this did really well. This is a big book, I believe. I believe it was initially a standalone, but I've heard rumours there might be a sequel coming out. What I tend to do is when there's a book that seems to just come out of nowhere and is popular all over the channels I watch on Booktube and the hype is high, I'll add it to Goodreads, I'll log it up here, and then I'll leave it then for a good few years, let all the hype die down. Then I will come back to it because I don't want to be influenced by the hype, because generally I go into it going, oh yeah, Dragon Mage, everyone loves this is going to be great, woo, and then I think it sucks and I don't like it, because I go in with mega high expectations, and in general it never lives up to the expectations. So to do the book justice, I want to give it time to breathe. Now I think I've given that a fair amount of time. I'm pretty sure I've got it on the Kindle as well, so maybe it's time to get around to it. At number 9 is Mark of the Fool by J.M. Clark. This is book number 1 in the Mark of the Fool series, average rating of 4.35 from 5,000 ratings. Now this is a 7-book series. It's a lit RPG, progression fantasy, D&D inspired story. Now, I came across this when I'd been reading The Wandering Inn and I was loving progression fantasy and I wanted to try more. So I went on a bit of a binge, and this will be a bit of a theme in this video as well, of progression fantasy books. Searching on YouTube for progression fantasy books, watching a whole load of videos, and this was one of those that came up. And then on Amazon, all these books were, well, I'm presuming J.M. Clark is male, don't know why. J.M. Clark offered all their books for sale for 99p. So I bought them all. It's a 7-book series and I think I've got the first 6. When am I ever going to read this? Don't know. But I will do at some point because I've got 6 of the books and it's got a good rating and I like progression fantasy, so why not? Number 8 is Ascendant, book number 1 in the Songs of Chaos series by Michael R. Miller. Average rating of 4.37 from 6,300 reviews. This got some traction recently on Booktube, but I'm a little bit put off by that cover. Don't know why. I don't know, I've just got some alarm bells going off in my mind about that cover. I don't know if I'm going to like it. It strikes me as, is it going to be a young adult? Don't get me wrong, I've liked some YA young adult books in the past. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. If you've read it, let me know. Is this an adult fantasy book or is it young adult? I don't know. I'm even tempted to possibly take it off my TBR list, to be honest. But I don't know, I can't judge books by the cover. Can't judge books by the cover, because if I did that, I would not have read some of the books I've read that I've really liked in the past. Number 7 is a book by an author that got recommended to me by a viewer to this channel. And the author is Michael Weishart, and this book is Banished, and it's book number 1 in The Street Rats of Aramore. Don't know how you pronounce that, but it's an average rating of 4.39 from 2,665 ratings. I'd not heard of this author, I'd not heard of this series, but I think this is a 5-book series. He's written other books as well, I believe, and I don't know, it looks kind of, judging by the cover, again, you can't judge books by the cover, but this looks kind of like it should be up my street. I don't hear many people talk about this author, so I don't know. I don't really know what to expect on this. I was surprised when it came up, when I was making this list. I was surprised this was on it. I had forgotten about it, but yeah. I think as and when, you know, you feel a need just to try something totally different, give something a punt out of nowhere and maybe be pleasantly surprised, this might be one of those that I go for. At number 6, carried on with the progression fantasy theme of this video, is The Umbral Storm by Alec Hudson. This is book number 1 in the Sharded Few. Average rating of 4.39 from 1,294 ratings. So it kind of only just scrapes on this list. But that cover looks pretty good. It's again, this is one of the SPFBO nominations, which is probably where this came across my radar. And I don't think it won that award. I don't even know how well it did. But there was obviously enough interest from the people who I follow who spoke about it at the time to make me add it to this list. I can't really tell you much more about it, but let me know if you've read it. Is it any good? Let me know in the comments below. At number 5 is a book I actually own, probably just an impulse buy that I never heard anyone else speak about up until recently, and that is Battle Mage by Peter A. Flannery. Average rating of 4.44 from 9,139 ratings. I thought this was just some random book that I purchased years ago without really knowing anything about what I was buying. Just saw the book name, saw the book cover and thought, yeah, I'll have a go at that. And then Matt's Fantasy Book Reviews reviewed it and loved it. I was really surprised. I actually went back and double checked that I'd got that book, thinking maybe I'd got a book titled by the same name but a different author. No, it's this one. It's a standalone, it's meant to be dead good. So yeah, need to give it a go. At number 4, I am presuming this is on here because I don't have book number 1 on my Goodreads TBR for some reason. It's A Blood of Kings, number 2 in the Shattered Reigns series by Bryce O'Connor. Average rating of 4.46 from 1,300 reviews. So again, just about scrapes onto this list. I can't tell you anything about this series. I know nothing about it. I don't know why it's on here. I don't know what videos I watched that made me put it on. Cannot tell you a thing. If you can tell me about this book that I've got on my TBR list that I'm talking about on this video on my Booktube channel, please let me know, because I don't know. But thankfully, I do know what I'm talking about for book number 3, which is Mother of Learning, arc number 1 by, I apologise for butchering this name, Domagoj Kamajic, or sometimes known as Nobody 103. And this is a progression fantasy series. There are 4 arcs, I believe, in this story, and this is supposed to be really, really, really good. Progression fantasy, this is what made me start delving deeper into these other books, other stories, lesser known books and stories within this genre after reading The Wandering Inn. Mother of Learning was the next one on my hit list to get to. It's much shorter than The Wandering Inn, even though it's still reasonably big. Yeah, I believe there's like time travel elements to this as well, and there's quite a few booktubers I follow who've read this and speak very, very highly of it. Which takes us on to number 2, which is one I can't pronounce and know nothing about. It's called Forging Hephaestus. I don't know. Book number 1 in The Villain's Code by Drew Hayes. Now, Drew Hayes I mentioned him in my previous video where I ranked top 10 rated books I have on Goodreads, but ranked if they've got over 10,000 reviews, and Drew Hayes appeared on that. This book has an average rating of 4.5 from 5,900 ratings. So that's still a good number of ratings, that, for an author that I'd never heard of before until I started delving into the weeds, so to speak. Sorry, Mr. Hayes. Sorry, I'm not being insulting there. But I've never heard of him. I believe there's 2 books out in this series. I know nothing about it. It might be a progression fantasy. It might not. I don't know. But you know, sometimes when you start doing some research, looking into a few things, and then an author's name just kind of keeps on popping up. Well, that's what kept happening with Drew Hayes. I've not read any of his books, but he's made it onto both lists. That's telling me I need to give this guy a go. And then at number 1 is just something. Right, well, let me tell you about this first of all, right? It's got 4.61 average rating from 9,188 reviews. It very nearly made it into the other video, you know, with some of the big hitters I was speaking about. But the book, I mean, it's an ebook, and when you look on Goodreads, this ebook is 6,680 pages long. And it's written by somebody called Wildbow. And it's called Worm. Worm by Wildbow, and this is book number 1 in the Parahuman series. Now, if this is book number 1, it's 6,600 pages long, goodness knows how big book number 2 will be. But possibly this is just everything combined into one. That's what I'm hoping and presuming. But yeah, I believe this is progression fantasy again. I believe this is something I came across when I was doing my research and thought, I've never heard of this before, but I'll add it to Goodreads and then I'll forget about it for years and years and years. But yeah, have you ever heard of that series? Have you ever, is it any good? It must be good. 4.61 from best part of 10,000 reviews. That's, right, so just to give you a comparison here, 4.61 from 9,000 reviews at number 1 on this list. And at number 2 on my previous list was The Trouble with Peace by Joe Abercrombie. Average rating of 4.6 of 31,000. 4.6 from 31,000, 4.61 from 9,000. It must be good. It must be good, but realistically, when am I going to read something that's 6,680 pages long? I just don't know. That is one heck of a commitment. But if you've read it and you made that commitment, please let me know in the comments below. Thanks very much for watching. I will see you in the next video and chat to you in the comments below. Take care. Bye bye.